everyone. It's good to see you. My name is Tolu, and I'm your module leader for the Economics for Managers module. I am ably assisted by the wonderful Emma, and these are resources to help you in these strange COVID-19 pandemic coronavirus times. And Emma and I will be doing a sort of videos to help you with your understanding of economics, with your graphs, with your mathematical statistical calculations, and we hope you have a wonderful time. So over to you, Emma, for week one of the tutorial.
Thank you. We are going to be starting with the tutorials week one. You will be able to find all your learning materials on your Blackboard page. So tutorial questions will be uploaded at the beginning, and then you're going to discuss the questions at the classes. So I'm just going to go with question by question in week one. So the first question, as you can see in the board, but you also have your documents in the Blackboard, is where can economic theory be applied? And the correct answer is A, as you already discussed in your lectures. So economic theory and analysis may be applied throughout society, including business, finance, healthcare, and government. If we go to the question 2, it asks us, why is the study of economics relevant? And the correct answer here is D. This is something, again, that you discussed at your lectures. So economics is the scientific study of the way in which humans make choices about production, consumption, wealth, when faced with scarce resources. And as you discussed, scarcity is one of the core problems in economics. Question 3 is, which of the following is not a characteristic of a free market economy? So we know that A, C, and D in this case are characteristics of the market economy, so that leaves us with the answer B, which is minimum wage. Laws are the only forms of regulations, which is the correct answer to this question, hence not a characteristic of a free market economy. Fourth question asks us, the statement increasing government spending will crowd out private investment is what kind of statement? There are two types of statements. So we have positive statements which describe what is, something that can be checked with fact, and we have normative statements which describe what ought to be, something that is value judgment, hence cannot be checked with fact. In this case, this statement describes a fact, hence it's a positive statement. And hence the correct answer to this question is answer B. So it's a positive statement describing a fact. Next, we move on to question number 5. When is a model not a good approximation of reality? And you already discussed this in your lecture. So the model is not a good approximation of the reality when one or more of the model's underlying assumptions are violated. Hence, the correct answer is the answer C. We move on to the question number 6. Which of the following are macroeconomic topics and issues and which are microeconomic ones? So in your lectures, you already learned about the distinguishment between macroeconomics and microeconomics, where macroeconomics covers everything dealing with the national or global economies, whereas microeconomics covers the topics dealing with individuals, businesses, firms, and the individual sectors of the economy as well. So first question is the level, which of the following are macroeconomic topics, issues, and which are microeconomic ones. So the first thing that we are asked for is whether the level of consumer spending is covered by microeconomics or macroeconomics. And here, since the level of consumer spending is an aggregate variable that is dealt at the national level, we know that this is covered by macroeconomics. Subsidies paid to farmers are specific to a certain segment of the economy, hence it is covered by microeconomics. The level of UK exports, which is under C, is something that is covered at the national level, hence on the level of the whole United Kingdom, so it is macroeconomics. The price of DVDs is very specific, that is covering specific market, the market for DVDs, and that is microeconomics. The rate of unemployment is the rate at the national levels, hence macroeconomics. The average wage paid to textile workers, so this is covering a specific sector, the textile industry, hence it is microeconomics. Next we have the total amount spent by UK consumers on clothing and footwear. This is covering only clothing and footwear, so hence it is microeconomics. And then we have finally the amount saved last year by UK households. So this is covering all UK households, hence it's covering the national level savings, and it is dealt by macroeconomics. Next question is question number 7, which has 4 statements, and we have to decide whether those statements are true or false. So the question starts with economists assume that economic decisions are made rationally. In the case of consumers, rational decision means that consumers will not buy goods which increase their satisfaction by only small amount. This statement is false because the goal of consumers is to maximize their satisfaction, so everything that increases their satisfaction they will buy. Second statement is, in the case of consumers, rational decision-making means that consumers will attempt to maximize their individual satisfactions for the income they earn. This statement is true because the consumers are after maximizing their satisfactions for the amount of money they have. Next statement is, in the case of consumers, rational decision-making means that consumers buy the sorts of goods that the average person buys. This statement is false. And finally, we have, in the case of consumers, rational decision-making means that consumers seek to get the best value for money from the goods they buy. And this statement is true. Again, consumers are looking to maximize their satisfactions for the income they earn or the money they have. Next, we are moving on to the question number 8. This question we will discuss in more details in class. But basically this question asks us to make a list of 3 things which you did yesterday. What was the opportunity cost of each? And have a look at your neighbor's list and see if they agree with their estimates of the opportunity cost. So opportunity cost is essentially a cost of choosing one alternative instead of the other. So think about what you did yesterday, whether you slept longer, so instead of doing the chores around the house, you were sleeping, so you lost time to do chores around the house. And think about whatever you did, whether you went to the cinema, went to meet your friends, what could have you done instead, and whether there were any time-related costs or money-related costs. So the next question is question number 9. A country is capable of producing the following combinations of goods and services per period of time, assuming that it makes full use of its resources of land, labor, and capital. So we are given the amount of goods and services, well, the combinations of goods and services that a country can produce. And the first task is to draw a production possibility curve for this country. You already discussed what production possibility curves are in your lecture, so we are going to solve this task and draw a production possibility curve. So it's under A, we have combinations of goods and services that we can produce, that the economy can produce, and I'm going to just write those here so we have everything in one place. we are supposed to be drawing our production possibility curve, and it shows the combination of goods and services that this economy can produce. So on the x-axis we have services, and on the y-axis we have goods. So if you're producing, you're first going to divide this chart. So if the economy is producing 100 goods, it produces 0 services. So we are having a point here, so it's 100 goods, 0 services. If the economy is producing 80 goods, it can produce 50 services. So we have 50 on x-axis and 80 on y-axis. So we have a point here. Then if the economy is producing 60 goods, it can produce 90 units of services. So we have 90 on x-axis and 60 on y-axis. Then if the economy is producing 40 units of goods, it can produce 120 units of services. So we have 120 on x-axis and then 40 on y-axis. If the economy is producing 20 units of goods, it can produce 140 units of services. So we have 140 on x-axis and 20 on y-axis. And then finally, the economy is producing 0 goods, it can produce 150 units of services. So it's the point here. When we connect these dots, then you get production possibility from here. Yeah, so the curve should look approximately like this. So the next question, it is asking us, is it possible for this country to produce the following combinations of goods? So 80 units of goods and 50 units of services. And to solve this question, we should consult both our table and our chart. So in the case of production possibility curve, everything that falls within this region, so which is within the curve, the economy can produce. Everything beyond the curve, economy cannot produce, and ideally the efficient production should be on the curve. So first question, whether economy can produce 80 units of goods and 50 units of services. So we have 80 units of goods. We are looking 80 units of goods on the y-axis and 50 units of services on the x-axis, and we can see that it's exactly on the curve. So the answer is yes, the economy can produce this. The next question is 70 units of goods and 90 units of services. So 90 on y-axis and 70 units on x-axis, which comes somewhere around here. So this lies outside of our production possibility frontier curve, so the economy cannot produce this. And finally, we have 40 units of goods and 100 units of services. So 40 units of goods, 40 on y-axis, and 100 units of services. So 100 on x-axis, so the point is somewhere around here. It is within the production possibility curve, so the economy can produce this. And then finally, we have question under C. What is the opportunity cost in terms of services of producing 20 extra units of goods when this country is initially producing 60 units of goods? So if the country is producing 60 units of goods, initially, and it is supposed to be producing additional 20 units of goods. So we have 60 plus 20. The country is now producing 80 units of goods. When the country was producing, we should consult both our table and our chart to solve this task. So when the country is producing 60 units of goods, it produced 90 units of services. When the country moves to producing 80 units of goods, it can only produce 50 units of services. So our opportunity cost is the difference between units of services it could produce when it was producing 60 units of goods and the amount of services it can produce when it now produces 80 units of goods. So it is 90 minus 50, which gives us that the opportunity cost of producing 20 additional units of goods is production of 40 units of services. And then we should also look at the opportunity cost when the country is producing 20 units of goods. So country is initially producing 20 units of goods. It produces additional 20 units of goods. So now the country is producing 40 units of goods in total, and we should solve this task in the same way. So it was producing initially 20 units of goods, now it's producing 40 units of goods. Initially, it could produce 140 units of services, now it can produce 120 units of services. So the opportunity cost is the difference between 140 and 120. Which is 20 units of services that the country has to give up to produce additional 20 units of goods. And finally, we have our tasks number 10. This task will be discussed in more details in class, but just to give you some brief ideas, so we have to assume that in a household, one parent currently works full-time and the other one stays at home to look after the family. So the question asks us, how would you set about identifying, calculating the opportunity cost of the second parent now taking a full-time job, and how would such calculations be relevant in deciding whether it is worth taking the job? So think about the choices that individual has to make when taking a job, and also family has to make when that individual is about to take the job. So for example, with individuals, the cost could be the leisure time foregone, the time foregone spent with the family, possible unpleasantness of the job. For the family, this individual, if he or she takes up the full-time job, they will be spending less time with family, have less time to do jobs around the house, etc. So we will discuss this further in class as well. And this is the end of our week 1 of tutorials. So thank you for listening and see you in class.